5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the CTS podcast, where we talk about politics,
current events,
news, current events, wars, drama,
those
presidents,
all the same.
congressmen,
politics. We're just getting we just keep going. Stuff that fits in the category.
Education bills. It's like, what?
Hold on.
Jeez, look how loud.
Yeah,
I am
you're
so
screaming.
loud. Sorry for screaming into your guys' ears. So we've been gone for a little while. Henry has been on vacation. He went to California. So check out CTS
To
Pop
lobby
Culture episode.
To lobby politicians.
Yeah,
No,
he went to
Sorry.
have a special meet and greet with California Governor Newsom. So you will notice on the other episode we go through some cool stuff that Henry bought back from
there.
California. Yeah. It's a really cool episode. Go check it out if you want. But this is the politics episode, which actually is probably my favorite of the two. I actually listened to this episode more than I listened to.
I'll be honest, I don't listen to either of them ever.
Yeah, but that's because you like edit stuff and
that's
you
true.
like re-listen to it. Whenever I'm bored, I'll pull up the politics.
That's funny.
I'll listen to the stock.
Okay.
Because I'm an egomaniac. That's most of the reason.
I can vouch for that.
What have we got?
So one little administrative thing, we will actually now be exclusively releasing the podcast on Twitter in 1 minute clips. Because all hail
Elon.
President Elon or Lord Elon.
That is a crazy thing. That's nuts. That he
imagine-
just decided to buy a major tech stock, a major tech company, and just said, I'm going to buy it.
Imagine you're like, my impulse purchases are like Pokemon cards or like a lightsaber from a lightsaber, or Legos or something. Elon's impulse purchases are a $44 billion mega corporation.
And he's going to take it private and all this crazy stuff. He liquidated $8.5 billion worth of Tesla stock to do it. It's just, it's wild. And I think he'll actually do some cool stuff with it. I've never used Twitter. I've never used Facebook.
I exclusively use it for sports stuff.
Really?
And
see, nowadays I use TikTok for sports stuff, or YouTube.
TikTok's just not quick enough for Twitter. You can get just instant reactions as people tweet stuff
that's
out.
Fair.
But yeah, I mean I've never been really big into Twitter at all. So
but some people love it. That is
people
I think people that are
use
5 or 6 years older than us and up to 35 love Twitter.
It's like when Facebook stopped being cool.
Yeah.
Twitter became the new Facebook, and now Twitter's good for some stuff. It's that's the only place I use it. Just the instant, I get instant commentary, instant news on stuff that's happening. But yeah, Elon it was crazy because it was gonna happen. He submitted, or he was gonna buy, or he was gonna be on the board, right? And then all of a sudden he was like, actually I'm not gonna be on the board. I don't want to be on the board anymore. And everyone was like, that's weird. What's going on here? And then he submitted the offer. And then Twitter was going to do some poison pill thing.
Yeah.
Where they flooded the market with stocks to I don't know.
Dilute his shares, yeah.
Yeah, or something like that, which is kind of weird. And then I guess they reconsidered and went, we can't in good faith turn down. It was he offered I think he paid $6 more a share than the stock was trading at.
So I believe it was Goldman Sachs that had a price target of $34, and they were advising Twitter not to sell at $54 a share. It's so ironic. And Jack Dorsey actually came out, the CEO of Twitter, and he was like, Elon is the only person I trust to run this company.
He said that?
Yes,
I didn't even see that.
I'm paraphrasing, but that was a public statement he made. So, which is kind of cool. Did you ever watch that Joe Rogan episode where Jack Dorsey was on Joe Rogan?
I've seen clips with
he's
the
an
lawyer.
Interesting guy. Yeah, he's very interesting. He's I can't get a good read on him. He's definitely more down to earth than Zuckerberg or Elon. He's much more normal.
I still just don't think that normal people become billionaires. Right? Like, there's, I mean, so few.
That's true.
Relative, and like, it just takes like something different that it's like, I just think like normal people, like completely normal people don't become billionaires. Or there's something about becoming a billionaire that like flips a switch that.
Well, yeah, there's like, I think when people say, you know, the Billionaires Club, I think there's an actual club. Like Mark, what's his name? He's the owner of the Mavericks.
Cuban.
Mark Cuban. He was asked about it on a talk show, and he was like, yeah, there's a Billionaires Club. I wonder if
Like
that's true.
it may, I'm sure, but I'm sure you like know a lot of that. Like, I'm sure all of them are like friends, right? Like, because there's only so many people that can parade around in their $500 million mega yacht.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
probably when you go to the showroom for your yacht that costs more than the GDP of small countries, you end up running into the same people. But yeah, no, it's crazy. The reaction to it has been kind of nuts too.
Very mixed, right? It's I've seen some people that are really excited. I think a lot of, you know, there's all this leaked videos of Twitter employees like freaking out about it, and I don't know.
Well, I think some of the stories are like weird, that it's like, now that Elon Musk owns Twitter, that means he can go through your private DMs. Huh? Elon Musk, the billionaire that runs like 6 different companies now, is going to go through people's like DMs. It's weird. There's just like some weird like fear mongering stuff going on.
Yeah.
Like, now that now that Elon Musk owns all of Twitter, like, what will China's influence on Twitter be? It's like, what? Like, why are we, that's not even, like, it's like a hypothetical in a hypothetical, and we're like worried about it?
So let me get your take on this. I found this really weird.
Oh, sorry.
So the Biden administration, Joe Biden, I should say, came out and said that they were going to be forming a board to look over disinformation and review disinformation. And my thought is like, okay, I don't like, I feel like that's the first step, right? That's the first step towards limiting free speech, is saying we're going to start looking at things that we deem disinformation, even if it is.
'Cause at what point is like disinformation just like someone's opinion? Like,
yeah, and here's the thing. I could understand maybe putting, like, I actually agree with Instagram and Facebook putting a tag that says, here's another source. I don't think it should be their job to say this is not entirely maybe you say this is not entirely accurate, but to say like this is untrue, it's like, well, it's probably not objectively untrue, but to say, you know, here's another source, look into it yourself, or here's another, I don't think that's a bad thing, but it definitely seems weird for the government to be creating a disinformation board.
and at what point is like ignorant disinformation, as far as like, right? So then the government probably knows more about stuff than just like a lay person. But now can the government go, well, we know this, so that's disinformation, so you're kind of going down for it. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. And I've seen, you know, obviously the reaction was like, oh, it's like Germany in the 40s, like, which like is any time I hear 1940s Germany brought up, I always go, I don't like it, no matter who does it.
It's like a non-starter. Yeah.
Where you're like, if you're immediately going there, I don't believe that you like really are like fully understanding the situation and the gravity of that situation relative to what's happening now.
I think people have forgotten how bad World War II was.
Yeah.
Like, really? I get it. I'm a little bit like, oh, that's kind of weird. disinformation board. It's a little weird, but no, I would not make it akin to the killing of millions of Jews.
Well,
I
and
would.
it's
I
like
just wouldn't.
they like 19. It's like the joke, the meme. Like I have that picture I'll send all the time where the dude like flips open the calendar and the next page is like 1984.
Yeah.
Which is so funny. Is like my favorite meme as a reaction to like just mundane things.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I got a speeding ticket. They didn't have, the ice cream machine was broken at McDonald's.
Yeah.
1984. But like people are unironically being like, oh, it's the Ministry of Truth from. So I don't know. It is a little weird and like not. I don't think it's probably not the. Like we already have provisions in the Constitution, right? For like, if disinformation is dangerous, it's not protected under the like First Amendment, like kind of threatening or like yelling fire in a crowded theater type thing isn't protected. So we kind of already have provisions for that. So to create like a government bureaucracy board makes me a little uncomfortable.
So 2 things. We'll start with this. Fauci, after the mask mandate was removed from airplanes, which I'm sure you heard about.
Yeah.
He came out and said that the courts shouldn't be making these decisions. It should be up to entirely the CDC. I wanted to get your thoughts on that. That seems like a very sort of dangerous thing to say. We don't want the courts having any judicial oversight of random bureaucratic agencies.
Well, and I also think like do you get to right? Because if a court strikes it down, it's because it's been interpreted to be unlawful.
Unconstitutional.
Yeah. So that means that so if you could do it constitutionally, I just think
Or pass a law, right? Have Congress write up a law and put it into law. That's all you have to do.
And so I think, and it's like there's the weird argument of like emergency powers and like that stuff, but I think, and even by, I don't know if that's where you're going next, but even by Fauci's own admission, like we're out of the like acute pandemic stage.
Dude, the plane one was weird because the plane thing should have gone away. It expired and then they wanted to extend it, and that's when the federal judge said, "Yeah, no."
And the thing is couldn't like airlines still go? You have to wear masks.
Yeah, they
in our
still
plane?
can. Yeah, every
like,
airline has removed it.
That's why I feel like it's not like it's weird to make that argument where it's like, so if we were that worried as like people and companies, we'd have it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. And then the kind of messaging from Fauci too, that like to come out a week later and be like, well, the pandemic's over.
Yeah.
And like I mean, I don't think like the mask thing kind of makes sense to me. Like in a lot of other countries, like I've had experience living in like some Asian countries. Like if you're sick at all, you wear a mask. Like they're always just wearing masks, and so like I don't think it's a bad thing. But
yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing.
But to complain about a court striking down an unjust law.
Yeah, and I'm not some Fauci hater. I was just interested in getting.
Yeah, no.
Moldova is on a high state of alert, and so in Moldova, there's another, I can't remember for whatever reason, there's another region of Moldova, and the folks in that region of Moldova are, middle-aged men, working-age men, whatever, like 18 to 35 or whatever it ends up being, are not being allowed to leave the country because they believe that Russia
They're worried about, isn't Moldova like tiny? Am I getting that mixed up?
Yeah, it's tiny. Yeah, I think so. I think Moldova's really small. But former USSR state. And they're worried that will be the next step for the Russians is to invade Moldova.
Which is a weird one. Like, because I think at that point everyone would probably just go, really, Russia? Like, and then everyone goes, okay, like, get out of here. Like, I
Well,
don't.
it makes no sense. I still don't understand Russia's like game plan. Like, they're bluffing about. First of all, they're bluffing about using nukes. They've already said that, they've been throwing around the word nuclear and nukes for the past few months, and they're bluffing. Like the other day on Russian state TV, they said they could completely obliterate New York City if they wanted to. And I'm just like, okay, like, and we could completely obliterate your entire country within hours. Like, there would be no country, there would be no world left. Any nuclear weapon launched from Russia would immediately trigger NATO nuclear response, which would lead to the complete destruction of Russia. I mean, everywhere. It would be just massacred. Everywhere would. Yeah. So it's like, you're bluffing about that, and then you've already showed that China won't back you. China's only out to do what's best for China. And if they're going to use this to take Taiwan, great. They're going to take Taiwan. But China's not going to back you if you were to really try to reestablish the USSR. And China has, even though I'm going to sound like a Chinese shill here, China has more of a claim to Taiwan than Russia has to Ukraine. Like, it's just different. Not that I think China really has any claim to Taiwan. I think Taiwan's a completely independent democratic state. But China realizes that they have a better argument there than Russia does. Like, Russia just invaded Ukraine.
Well, and I think China's seen what the response will be if you try and invade somewhere and take it back. Granted, it's a little different. But
yeah, and China's got a whole lot more ground to stand on economically than Russia.
Yeah, but, I mean, I think China, if Russia had invaded Ukraine and just, like, annexed half the country and nobody had really made a fuss about it, I think Taiwan would be, like, completely under Chinese control already.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a tricky one. It's kind of dragged on a little bit longer than I think a lot of people were expecting.
I think the Russians didn't.
I don't think they. Yeah. So so this is, sorry not to cut you off, but I heard a recording of a call between like a Russian.
I heard
mother.
that
Yeah.
too. That was crazy.
She's like, what happened? I thought you were supposed to be home by the end of March. And he's like, well, like, it's taking longer. Like, we're not even in, like, Kiev yet. And, like, stuff like that, where it's like even the Russians believed that it was going to be shorter than it's actually turned out to be.
Which is crazy. I think it shows the Russians have Putin's overplayed his hand, and he knows it. And now he's got Sweden and Finland that are both located.
They're going to be in NATO, I think, in July.
And the U.S. just issued a defense. Like, they said, if anyone attacks you during the time between now and when you want to join NATO, we will defend you. So the U.S. just issued that security guarantee to Sweden and NATO. And, like, Russia's overplayed their hand. And now all of these countries on NATO are going to be way more alert of Russian activity. They're going to be way more alert about Russia security concerns.
Well, and it's weird because you've just strengthened NATO, right? Because
you've completely aligned to NATO.
Circle the wagons, like, okay, and then bring in anybody else that wants to get in now. So now, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if most of those countries at some point in the next few years
for sure
try and join NATO.
Yeah, I mean, it's already it already seems to be going that way. And I wouldn't, to be completely honest, if Ukraine were to fall, I mean, we would see. I just can't imagine that there will be any countries left in the West that are wanting to, or that were in the former USSR, that won't become members of NATO, even though most of them already are. I mean, once Sweden and Finland join, I think I can't even think of any other countries in the West. I mean, I don't think Switzerland's part of NATO.
Yeah, but
it's just crazy. And then, yeah, so I don't know. It's weird. If a world war were to happen, if you don't have China on your side, there's no.
Well,
there's
Russia
no
has
possible
no.
way.
Right, I mean, like they.
Yeah, there's no way.
If you couldn't kind of sweep through Ukraine, what are your?
How do you expect to take France? How do you expect to take Sweden or the United Kingdom
or Germany?
Yeah,
especially when, and that's without even like full support of NATO countries. Because if you started trying to go any further,
well, not only that. I mean, think about these other allied countries that we have. We have Japan, we have South Korea, we have Australia, New Zealand. I mean, which would all come to war to defend NATO. I mean, like, it's just, there's no way you do anything if you do not have the support of China. And China's already showed we're not going to get involved. If it doesn't benefit China, why would we get involved?
And I think there's a chance if like a full like world war broke out, China would align against Russia.
Yeah.
Like, not even just remain neutral,
Yeah.
even in the sense if they were just like, okay, you can attack Russia through China. Like, we'll let you like stage troops here, just because it doesn't make sense for China, and China would, I think, love a large war that they don't really have to participate in, because
I mean, think about it.
Economically,
if they were to stay neutral, or if they were to not get heavily involved, I mean, it'd be like the United States was prospering during World War I and before we got involved, and during World War II and before we got involved. It's like,
yeah.
So it's so weird that Russia is choosing to go this route. They have 18% interest rates right now. You can't get foreign currency. Their banks are completely falling apart. They're defaulting on their debt. Their credit rating is going to get downgraded by international investors. And they can't support them. Their economy, they don't have the type of economy where they can just support themselves.
They couldn't go insular.
They can't.
Much.
They can't. I mean, look at North Korea, which is a much smaller country. You would think it's much easier to go completely insular, and Russia, you can't. You can't. So it's just bizarre. In other news, I'm trying to think of what else has happened. Anything major?
Not.
Oh, you know what we can talk about?
What's up?
I think you'll be okay talking about this. Madison Cawthorn is involved in a bit of a scandal with a staffer. It's been revealed that they've been sending some inappropriate Venmo payments to each other. And what's being reported is, this very, very conservative figure is having a secret gay relationship with one of his staffers. But sort of what me and you were saying is, it seems like, with sort of that age group, a lot of it is
because you were saying he's like 25, right?
Yeah, he's only 25, maybe 26 by now. But like in that age group, a lot of it is like,
I see so many insane Venmo requests, right? Venmo has that post board of all your friends.
Yeah, you just joke around. Like, you joke around with it, and I think a lot of the messages weren't really serious, but there was did you see the video? The video was kind of weird.
No, I didn't. I don't know if we can.
Oh, we can. Everyone's reporting on it. They show the video everywhere.
Or not. I don't know if we want to. Maybe not can.
I won't go too crazy. So the video shows Madison Cawthorn, and he grabs the leg of his associate. But it's weird because here's this really conservative Republican, like very far right Republican, by the way, like in the same class as like Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, there was a bill. I don't know if you're familiar. There's like this land lease program that they were trying to pass as a bill, which would provide additional like benefits and funding to Ukraine. Yeah. There was 10 House members that voted against it. Ilhan Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, basically the squad.
Yeah.
And then like Madison Cawthorn, Marjorie Taylor Greene, all of those 5 like crazy conservatives.
Horseshoe theory, bro.
Dude, the 5 farthest right and the 5 farthest left both came together to vote against it.
Horseshoe theory.
Isn't that
I
crazy?
don't subscribe to it, but sometimes
it's just weird.
Sometimes there's some stuff that makes me think it might not be that insane.
It's bizarre. In one other bit of news, the French elections took place. Marine Le Pen was defeated by Emmanuel Macron.
It was like 20%, right? Like 20.
It wasn't that close. Yeah. I think
people were freaking like it was going to be close. I saw a lot of people overreacting, and it wasn't that close.
Which I think is like a, and I don't think Emmanuel Macron's a very good leader. From what I've seen, from what sort of what he's done, I don't think he's a very good leader. But I'm glad that they at least said we're not going to take this ultra far right president.
Like Russian sympathizer.
it's like picture like way worse than Donald Trump. Like people were calling Donald Trump far right. Like you want to know what actual far right looks like? Look at Marine Le Pen.
European far right.
Yeah,
is like scary.
It is. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it wasn't that close, and kind of always expected that. But
Yeah.
that's, I don't know. That's kind of all I can think of. So
I think
far.
that's pretty much all the news that we had. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up.
This is the CTS podcast episode